We put multiple videos up throughout the week on our new channel. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We greatly appreciate you doing that. I picked A&M to beat Missouri this week because I thought that Missouri would get out physical. Let's start with it, Texas A&M. You did exactly what I thought you would do, but 10 times better than I thought you would do it. I did not, going into this game, think that Missouri would get that outclassed physically-wise, like physicality-wise. I didn't think that that was going to happen. But Texas A&M on both lines of scrimmage is a very, very physical football team. Their offensive line will push dudes around. They are going to lean on you. And another type of style, I don't want to say it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, because Le'Veon Moss had 12 carries, 138 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He also had 35 yards receiving. But they are going to line up and throw and run the football right at you. They're going to play physical football. Coming into this game, I think that when we look at A&M, we look at them and say, and think about everything that's gone on with them in the past. We think about everything that happened under Jimbo Fisher in the SEC and Texas A&M. That's not this team, man. It's not this team. You know, I look at the Bowling Green game and say, yeah, you were a scrappy team. You were, you're on the ropes against Bowling Green to some extent. So was Penn State a couple of weeks before that when they played them. So Bowling Green might not be a bad football team at all. And you were able to find a way to win. And what do you make of the Notre Dame game in week 1, game 1 under Mike Elko? What do you make of any of that? What I make of it is that this team, for what it's worth, and a lot of things that they have done, has gotten better every single week. Now, Connor Wigman comes back this week, and he was also exceptional. Didn't have to do much. He was 18 of 22. Fantastic. Got some of the throws that he made and some of the plays that his wide receivers made was insane. Noah Thomas had multiple catches that I'm like, dude, that isn't – that kid is making some insane plays. Connor Wigman didn't have to do anything special. Nothing. He made some really good throws. His wide receiver made plays. He was getting the ball to his playmakers out in space. And that's how they continue to have success. Guys, he missed 3 passes on the day. Went for 276 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. But like I talked about last week, and we'll reemphasize it here again, the reason that Missouri got beat down the way that they are, or way that they did, it was because of how physical both lines of scrimmage were for Texas A&M. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to be saying in this video, and let's get to it. In reference to, well, Blake, Texas A&M got a lot of favorable calls by the refs. A&M had more penalties than Missouri did. A&M had more penalties than Missouri did. I think they had 10. Game could have got much worse if the refs didn't throw some of those flags on A&M. Missouri fans that are listening to this, or anybody that's listening to this, those penalties have nothing to do with your defense getting destroyed up front in the front 7 the way that they did by A&M. I know having the touchdown reversed sucks. I know not having the pass interference called, it sucks. If I would be a fan of Missouri, I would hate it too. But the touchdown by Luther Burden, guys, it was a penalty. It was a penalty. And that's why I got called. It's a good call. None of that has anything to do with Le'Veon Moss having 138 yards on you and 3 touchdowns, and Amari Daniels having 34 yards and 2 touchdowns. Guys, they ran for 5 touchdowns yesterday. You couldn't make a stop if you wanted to. I mean, A&M was 7 of 12 on 3rd down. They didn't care. They're going to line up, punt it, play good defense, run it right at you. Nick Scourton, absolutely insane game. You know, the offensive line, so we talked about offense and how good that offensive line was for A&M. Let's talk about their D-line and then their defense. Listen, man, that defensive line is insane for Texas A&M, and it's going to keep them in a lot of football games. I think a lot of people have been waiting for Nick Scourton, the transfer from Purdue, to have a big game and Look, he kind of been struggling early in the season, and a lot of people, he put on weight, he put on bad weight. No, Nick Skowronen had himself a game. That entire defensive line had themselves a game. Against a really good rushing attack in Missouri, Noel and Carroll had 56 rushing yards. 56 rushing yards on 18 attempts. They could get nothing going in the running game. Skowronen had multiple tackles for loss in the backfield. They are really good up front. Guys, when you can dominate both lines of scrimmage the way the offensive line did, they gave massive holes for Le'Veon Moss, and what your defensive line was able to do and all the tackles for loss that they got, you're going to be in every game. Now, I am not going to go as far as to say that I think A&M is a contender at the current moment for the playoff. However, guys, they're 4-1. Or 5-1. They're 4-1. I mean, they're getting better every single week. 236 rushing yards against an SEC opponent is purely insane. And then to top that, to have one of your quarterbacks come back and you start him and you did whatever you want. Look, I thought that there were a lot of questions about A&M and their secondary. They legitimately found a way to stop a really good passing attack or really good receivers. Theo Weiss, who had the blanket, he did have the big catch later in the game. Why A&M fans gave him a blanket, I don't know. I thought that was a little classless, but Theo Weiss had 2 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown, and Luther Burden had 82 yards on 7 catches. Secondary that is young with guys like Des Ricks and others. I mean, they play good. So yeah, I mean, 6.55 yards per carry for A&M is insane. So they're going to be a problem for most teams. They got they got LSU in a couple of weeks. They have a chance to show who they are, but that the culture, the environment, and everything Mike Elko is building has been really good. Let me talk about Missouri really quickly. Guys, Missouri is not a physical football team on either line of scrimmage. I mean, look, I told you this last week. It was a concern that I had for them. It's why I picked A&M to beat Missouri. I look at that Boston College game and say to myself, Boston College was able to have success against your defensive line. Boston College was able to have success from their defensive line on you. I'm not going to say they're on fraud watch. I'm not going to say they're a fraud team because, look, we just had in week 6 a team like Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Not going to do that in Missouri yet. But, man, both lines of scrimmage have got to get better. Because if you can't run the football and you're getting pushed around up front, you are going to look at this season as the biggest waste and miss that you've had. And there's not a lot you can do to change it right now. You can't go get free agents. This isn't the NFL. Your offensive line, especially at tackle, is not good right now. A&M was able to line up and just go base, simple defense, and you could do nothing about it in the running game. Because they didn't do anything special in the running game on you. You had a running back go for over 10 yards of carry on you yesterday. Now, you had a lot of turnover defensively. You had really good players leave. You had your DC leave. You had your defensive end coach or D-line coach, whatever Kevin Peoples was labeled as. He left. They left, went to LSU. And this was the biggest test that you had on the road. First time that you had left Como all year, which, by the way, Missouri, when you're scheduling, you need to go on the road early in the season. Play an opponent that's not any good. You'll go up to UMass. There's your away game. But you got shell-shocked. You didn't know how to respond. Your team didn't know how to respond. The body language on the sidelines with Luther Burden when you were down 17-0 showed me everything that I needed to know about how that team was going to react to adversity. They had no answer for adversity. Again, the penalties suck. I get it. But it doesn't stop you staying in the football game and trying to come back to win. Doesn't stop that. You're down. So what? So what the refs are able or didn't throw the flag on a pass interference or picked it up. So what? The Luther Burton touchdown got called back. Your defense has got to go out there and make a stop. You got to go out there as an offense and make plays. And both lines of scrimmage did not do that. You got pushed around. People were moping on the sidelines. You didn't have an answer. I am not going to be the person today to come out here and say that Mizzou is on fraud watch. Not especially after we've had this week. Not a chance. Not a chance. But Brady Cook had no time. Brady Cook went 13 of 31, 186 yards and a touchdown. He ran for 11 times for 11 yards. He was running for his life. He played a horrible game, one of the worst games that he's played, mainly due to the fact that he had pressure so much, he couldn't get set up in the pocket. You gave him no time, and that's what's going to happen. Outright, you know what whooping. An outright whooping.